Hello everyone, in this video I want to introduce you to a method which is very weird, and that's using a pillow for practicing your pool break. Personal story. When I started playing out pool, I was looking for a billiard coach. I ended up finding Jasmine Ocean and her Pool Billiard Academy in Klagenfurt in Austria. And it was the best move I ever did when it comes to improving my game. After some basic education lessons, I started out practicing the break, and I was super surprised when I found out that they put a pillow on the table and they started to practice with a pillow I usually sleep on. But it definitely made sense after the explanations I got from her coach back then, Mike Neumann. It was awesome and I understood why we were using it. And I'm gonna show you now how they use it and why it makes sense for you, for professionals, and even for beginners. So the situation is that you want to change maybe something on your break, or you want to improve your break, either your bridge hand, your stroke, whatever. Let's watch this clip of Shane Van Boning, this slow motion clip of SVB breaking. And as you can see, his specific movement, his specific motion is very, very unique. Many people try to emulate what he is doing, try to repeat what he's doing, and it's super difficult. And the slow motion just reveals how complex it is. He stays down, then his backstroke is really long, then he moves his upper body upwards, then the cue is really moving forward at very high speed, but at the same time the cue stays very leveled, and so on. So this whole movement is super complex, and to emulate this all in one shot, or to practice all this in one shot, is just super difficult. And it's about splitting your learning phases. And usually you can split them roughly in 3 phases. These 3 phases are the learning phase, the reinforcement phase, and of course the application phase. So what's the learning phase about? It's the phase where it's about getting into the topic, learn the first new things you want to learn about a new specific topic. The reinforcement phase then is that you try to use parts of the new learned topic or skill in a certain situation. And the application phase is actually where you try to use it in a situation which is more or less realistic. And that's the moment where this pillow comes into play. Usually at the beginning, when you start to learn something new, in this case the break, it's a very complex task to achieve. There's a lot of different things you need to be aware of: your stance, what your bridge hand is doing, what your arm is doing, where you look at, how the follow through has to be executed, how much power you have to apply, etc. Too many things to focus on. The reason why using this pillow is that you start to focus only on certain things. So you split the whole tasks into different sections, and then you start to move from there. And the pillow is especially used for beginners and when you start to begin to change something in your technique. So let's assume that I would like to be able to break like SVB. I think in this life this is not going to happen, but just let's assume it. And I want to practice this break. And in this case it's not about me. I'm not a professional and I don't want to teach you how to break. I only want to teach you how to use this method. And in the first phase, the learning phase, the only thing you would like to do is to try to repeat a movement very slow. So in this case it could look like this. Try to start like this, and then you try to emulate what Shane is doing and try to do it very slow. Try to train your muscles what to do and try to train your muscles to memorize the movement. In the next step you just take the next ball, and we're still in the learning phase, and you try to do the same again. So you just go down, okay? And then you try to do the same like Shane does, yeah? And try to repeat this movement. If you would not have a pillow at the end of the table, the balls would bounce back, and that would distract your training. So as mentioned in the learning phase, I try to do the things very, very slow to train my muscles, to train my muscle memory. Within doing everything slowly, I can still focus on certain aspects of this movement. In this case, it could be that I keep my wrist still, that I keep my bridge hand still. Could look like this. So I chalk my cue, I try to emulate SVB, I'm just trying it. So I try to keep my bridge hand still. I try to do everything like I think it would be. So backswing, I try to do it, but I try to keep my bridge hand still. And I try to repeat it. And as you see, the balls are not bouncing back. So I immediately can start all over again without any distractions. I can stay on this side of the table and keep on practicing. I'm gonna do it the same thing. I try to focus on my bridge hand, stand up, perfect. So this works. And now I try to do the same thing. I'm still in a learning phase with my backswing. Taking the next ball, but now I'm focusing on my backswing. So I know my bridge hand stays still, really backswing, oh perfect. And I really try to follow through like Shane does. But I try to do it really slow because I'm still in the learning phase. Next situation could be I really try to focus on backswing, standing up and hitting the ball properly. It's still super slow, but I'm focusing on a straight follow through. I'm focusing on my upper body and on my backswing, but step by step. In the reinforcement phase, what you would want to do is the same as we did in the learning phase, when it was very, very slow, but just try to increase the speed. You go down on the shot, in this case try to emulate SVB's break, try to do the same thing and try to hit it a little bit faster. And what you recognize right now, there's no ball bouncing back. So what I can do right now is I can take the next ball and do it all over again. Same thing. And you recognize there's no ball bouncing back. I try to focus on everything, but now I try to do everything together, but just a little bit faster. And still, the balls are not bouncing back, and I can stay here, take the next ball, and keep on practicing. And see, it's not working. I scratched. I didn't even hit the ball. So I know there's something wrong, and then I go back to the learning phase, doing it slow. If you like this content, please click the like and subscribe button. It would really help the channel to grow. Given that the learning phase and the reinforcement phase were really doing great for you, then the next step would be to really move up to the application phase. Using a brake rack in this situation would be most preferable. If you don't have one, just use a standard rack of balls. Of course, the disadvantage right now is that you always have to rack and re-rack the balls. But now it's about hitting the first ball of the rack the way you want to. The problem right here is that your movement, your braking movement really already needs to be at a very high standard, very well trained before you are able to hit the one ball the way you want to hit. So let's give it a try. Maybe I'm going not to succeed right now, and if that's the case, then I would need to go back to the learning phase or to the reinforcement phase. So now I really try to put everything into place the same way I practice it. It was way too slow, but at least I hit the rack somehow the way I wanted it. Let's give it another try and let's see if I can do better. I really tried to remember what I practiced in the learning phase and in the reinforcement phase. Yeah, and actually I think not too bad. Of course my breaks are nowhere near SVB ones. I had no pop on the balls, they were not jumping, it was way too weak and so on. But that's not the point. The point is that this kind of method is actually really used by professionals or by professionals practicing with beginners or with amateurs. Since you are able to do things very slowly, to give your mind and your muscles the chance to really memorize what you are practicing, you are actually speeding up your learning process and especially the quality of what you learn. And once your muscles and your mind has definitely memorized how the movement needs to be executed, the more accurate you're going to hit, the more faster you're going to hit, with more power, and at the end of the day, more consistent. If you want to listen to my podcast, where I talk with a lot of professionals about their experiences and their training regimes, I will put the link down in the description of this video.